This story I'm going to take you back to 1916, the First World War. And it's a story about Lord Kitchener. You all know about Lord Kitchener. You've seen the posters. We've all seen the posters. Your country needs you. Well, he was the war secretary, not the peace secretary, and he was in the cabinet. But the politicians in the cabinet didn't like him. But he is quite a celeb in public circles. So this is a story, a saga, a poem about how he met his end, or did he? The war poet Wilfred Owen wrote, engraved on the walls at Sandhurst are the words, "It is sweet and proper to die for one's country." But Wilfred Owen called that the old lie, and unfortunately he died at the age of 25, 1 week before the armistice. So this story is about, it's mixing the universal with the personal. So the universal story is Kitchener was being sent to Russia to parley with the Tsar, and the idea was the UK, Britain wanted to keep Russia in the war because it feared that if it left, because it became tired and fatigued, then we might actually lose the First World War. And he was going to make his journey on a ship, the HMS Hampshire, and this was in the June time of 1916. And the ship had just come back from the Battle of Jutland, which was at the time the biggest naval battle, sea battle in history. Thousands of people died. And of course, the sailors wanted their time off, their break. But unfortunately, they're told within 2 days of returning, they had to take Kitchener to meet the Tsar. And the problem was the ship was allegedly brought down by a German mine off the Orkney Islands. But there was lots of controversy about this. Was this true or not? Because Kitchener had a lot of enemies. He'd come back from the Boer War. He'd introduced concentration camps. There was a story that maybe it was spies, Boer spies, who actually had torpedoed or mined the ship in some way. There was a story he was gay, and therefore the authorities and the establishment wanted to get rid of him before that news broke out. And there was a story that maybe Irish dissidents caused the ship to sink. 700 men plus went down with the ship, and his body was never found. Now, one enterprising journalist came up with the story and repeated the story and had it published in newspapers at the time, that he had found Kitchener's body and that he was bringing Kitchener's body back to Lion State and then have a ceremonial burial. Unfortunately, the coroner got in the way and said, no, there has to be a post-mortem. When they opened the coffin, they found it was filled with concrete. So the enterprising journalist didn't throw up his hands and say, "You've caught me red-handed." He actually said, someone's stolen the body. And went again, publishing stories about it. So that's the background to the story, and that's the universal side of it. The narrator in the poem is an uncle of mine who unfortunately went down with the ship. So I'm trying to get the personal side across. You can see it as an anti-war poem. You can see it as just a human story, which is what it is. From the Battle of Jutland, May 1916, the bloodiest sea battle that had ever been seen. And me, just a young boy, barely out of my teens, now merely a young man in search of wild dreams. 8,000 men died in that carnage and fight, all for the sake of empire and the right of the might. But we stood our ground, we never took flight, but I needed my shore leave to get my head right. 2 days of shore leave, then order to go, for a valuable cargo we had to stow. Kitchener, a lord, off to Russia to implore the great ugly bird to save us all from this bloody great war. A man too late for his mission. Now I'll tell you the truth, and I'll tell you no lie. I'm no coward, my friend, but I'd no wish to die. On the 5th of June, we set sail, knowing only too well at Orkney there was blowing a gale. I was Navy Reserve, stoker was my job to do, an ordinary bloke, just part of the crew. But Neptune grew angry and the sky turned black, and our 2 guarding destroyers were each ordered back, the harbour's safe sanctuary. And I gazed to the sky where my God used to be, and I cursed to my soul how I wished it were me. For 2 miles off the Orkney shore, a submerged German mine ended our war. Some say this was a cause, some say that, but the families that mourn only care for the fact. And the truth all depends on who authors the report, but the only truth for sure is that dead men don't talk. Some say it was a conspiracy, but I'll leave it to history. Let history write whatever history will, but the truth all depends on who's holding the quill. They raised a monument to Kitchener in granite and stone. It was 100 more years for 737 brave men to bestow a memorial of their own. And you who believe in a God have but him to thank, to know that in death men still die in rank. So here's to the loss, to the truth, to the lives. Here's to the lives all too soon sacrificed. Here's to the men, the loved ones forlorn. Here's to the families, the souls that mourn. And here's to a young boy, barely out of his teens, no longer a young man, in search of wild dreams. Thank you.